When an inconceivable crime rocks the small town of Tyler, Texas, police identify a potential suspect and bring him in for questioning. And apparently, he wanted a hamburger.
I never met up with him that night.
Then how was your DNA in there?
I have no idea. I never got in the car. Never got in the car, sir. Never did.
Your DNA is all in that car.
I never did.
Carlson, you did.
I promise I did. I never met up with him.
I'm gonna arrest you for murder.
I'm hungry though.
I don't care if you're hungry. Be quiet.
Tyler, Texas, a mid-sized city in Smith County. Population just over 100,000. It sits in the heart of what locals call the buckle of the Bible Belt, a place with a heavy religious foundation where LGBT people largely kept quiet, not because they didn't exist, but because the environment made existing openly a risk. There was a decent-sized population of LGBT residents in Tyler, but they kept to themselves. They did not feel safe being visible. Ty Underwood had come here anyway. She was 24 years old. Born in the small East Texas town of Lufkin, a quiet, rural place she had outgrown long before she left it. Lufkin was the kind of town where everybody knew everybody, where standing out carried a price. Coming to Tyler felt, by comparison, like arriving somewhere. Somewhere with more room, more possibility, more of the life Ty was working to build for herself. Ty was a transgender woman. Born Tyrone Lee Underwood, she had long since stepped fully into who she truly was. She introduced herself as Ty to everyone she met. That was her name. That was who she was. Her best friend and roommate Kenya described her in terms that came easily. Vivacious, fearless, full of life. A person who did not let the world's limitations become her own. Ty lived by a principle she carried everywhere. If there was a will, there was a way. She had applied that to her transition. To leaving Lufkin. To building something real in a city that was not exactly built for people like her. She walked through Tyler as exactly who she was, openly, fully, without apology. She never let the environment intimidate her. What Ty never imagined, what she could not have foreseen, was that her life would end violently at 2:36 in the morning on a quiet residential street in Tyler, Texas. Slumped over the wheel of her own car, 4 bullets in her body. The engine still running. Alone. It started with a 911 call. A neighbor had heard something outside. When she looked through her window, she could see a car, headlights still on, engine still running, sitting off the road at an odd angle. Her granddaughter thought she had heard shooting.
Tyler 911 is your emergency police siren ambulance.
It's a car across the street. It looked like it's up out of telephone poles and the headlights are on. And I don't see anybody out of the car. And my grandbaby said they thought they heard some shooting.
Officers arrived within minutes. What they found at first glance looked like a car accident. A vehicle sitting off the road at an odd angle, headlights still burning, engine still running. But the moment they approached the driver's side window, the accident theory was gone. Ty was in the driver's seat. Unresponsive. She did not respond to the officers. She did not respond to the paramedics. Her body had slumped forward over the wheel. And there was blood on the steering wheel, the dashboard, the front windshield, the inside of both doors. Far too much blood for a car accident. Officers began counting bullet holes. 5 shots had been fired. 4 of them had found their mark. And the angle of the wounds told investigators something critical right away. The shots had traveled from the right side of the vehicle toward the left. The shooter had not been standing outside. The shooter had been sitting in the passenger seat. Ty's killer had been right next to her. From there, the picture assembled itself quickly. The shooter had opened fire from inside the car. Ty, wounded, had hit the accelerator and tried to get away. The shooter got out and kept going, chasing the car down the street, firing as Ty drove. Ty, bleeding, desperately put the car in reverse, trying to escape. The wheels dug into the dirt on the side of the road. She had nowhere left to go. The car sat there, engine running, wheels spinning in the mud, until a neighbor looked out her window and called 911. There was cash sitting in the center console. Nothing had been taken. This was not a robbery. There was a motive here, and it was personal. One more thing stood out at the scene. Investigators found Ty's cell phone. It had been playing music, which had been slowly draining the battery. By the time officers picked it up, it was nearly dead. And it was locked behind a 4-digit PIN code. They knew the phone likely held the key to identifying who Ty had been with that night. But they only had a limited number of attempts before the phone would lock permanently and potentially wipe itself clean. They began guessing. Ty's address, common number combinations. Nothing worked. Finally, on what felt like a last attempt, they tried the one thing they had almost overlooked: Ty's date of birth. The phone opened. What was inside changed the entire direction of the investigation. Text messages, direct messages, hundreds of conversations across multiple platforms, and running through all of them, consistent and impossible to ignore. One name: Carlton. But before investigators could focus entirely on Carlton, the phone revealed something else. Ty had been communicating with two different people in the days leading up to her death. One of them was Carlton. The other was a man who went only by the name George. George lived near the area where Ty's car had been found. That detail alone made him a serious person of interest. Investigators pulled him in and grilled him for nearly 2 hours. George told them he and Ty had communicated, but had never actually met up. When the conversation stopped going where he wanted it to go, he said he had simply deleted everything and left it alone. Investigators were not satisfied with that. They pushed. George pushed back, and then offered something that most guilty people do not offer. He asked for a polygraph. He passed. With George cleared, the investigation turned its full attention back to the name that had been there from the beginning. Carlton Champion was 21 years old. A freshman at Texas College, a small historically black college located just a short distance from where Ty's car had been found that morning. Carlton had not had an easy start in life. He had grown up with instability, gotten into trouble as a young person, and had only found something resembling solid ground toward the end of high school. Football had given him that ground. He was talented enough to earn a spot on the Texas College roster, and in a small school in a tight-knit community, that meant something significant. Football players at small colleges in close communities carry a particular kind of status. They are known, they are celebrated. The community holds them to a standard, puts them on a pedestal, and watches them closely. Carlton Champion had stepped into that spotlight willingly. He had a reputation to maintain, an image that mattered to him, a version of himself that he had worked to project to the people around him. Ty Underwood's roommate, Kenya, had already given investigators his name before they ever opened the phone. She told them Carlton had spent 2 or 3 nights at their apartment. She told them the relationship had been ongoing. And she told them the one thing that pointed investigators directly at him: the only reason Ty would have left the house that night was to meet Carlton. When investigators brought Carlton in for the first time, he told them he had met Ty only once. He said he did not know she was transgender, that he had believed she was a woman. He said he had never been inside her car. And almost as a casual aside, he mentioned that he had deleted the Kik messaging app from his tablet that very morning. Investigators noted every word, because the messages on Ty's phone told a completely different story. The two had been in a relationship, a sexual relationship. The nature and language of the messages between them made that undeniable. And Ty had been open about who she was from the very beginning of their communication. There was no ambiguity, no moment where Carlton could have been confused about who he was talking to. He knew. The messages proved it beyond any reasonable question. The explicit photographs they had exchanged proved it further. Carlton Champion had been fully aware of exactly who Ty Underwood was, and he had chosen to pursue the relationship anyway, privately, carefully, on his own terms. Terms that included keeping it completely hidden from everyone in his life. The messages also revealed what had happened on the night Ty was killed. In the hours before her death, Ty had grown suspicious. She believed Carlton was talking to other people, pursuing other relationships online while maintaining theirs. She confronted him about it through their messages. The conversation grew heated. Ty told him she was coming to campus. Carlton told her she was not. She told him again she was coming. He told her again she was not. She came anyway. Her last message to Carlton was 3 words: "I'm here." Carlton told investigators he had never left his dorm room that night. Campus surveillance footage proved otherwise. Investigators had gone through hour after hour of security camera recordings from the Texas College campus. It was tedious work, but buried inside all of that footage was exactly what they needed. Carlton Champion, walking out of his dormitory building just before the time of the murder, and then returning shortly after. The timestamps were narrow, but they were enough. The distance between the campus and the location where Ty's car had been found was consistent with the window of time Carlton was gone. He had left. He had been there. He had come back. And then the DNA results came back from the lab. Carlton's DNA had been recovered from the seatbelt and the door handle inside Ty's car. The same car he had told investigators clearly and directly that he had never once been inside. He had been in the car. His DNA confirmed it. The surveillance footage confirmed he had left campus. The messages on Ty's phone confirmed he knew she was coming. Every single thing Carlton Champion had told investigators in that first interview had been a lie. They brought him back in.
I've got DNA back, Carlton. So, I mean, it's pretty much done. My thing is, something happened that morning, okay? Something happened where, I don't know if Tyrone said something or was going to say something. You know what I mean? But something ended up happening where Tyrone dead now.
I never even met him that same night. Never did.
Carlton, then why is your DNA in the car?
I gotta say it for myself, man. I didn't even see that dude that night.
Your DNA is all in that car.
But I promise, I never met him.
Carlton Champion did not panic. He did not break. He did not show a single visible sign that the walls were closing in around him. Where most people sitting across from a detective who just told them their DNA was found inside a murder victim's car would have some kind of reaction, fear, distress, an attempt to explain, Carlton simply denied it. He denied being in the car. He denied meeting Ty that night. He denied the relationship. He denied everything calmly, consistently, and without any apparent awareness of how impossible his position was. At one point, the detective pointed out that Carlton had a twin brother, which could theoretically have offered him a DNA explanation. Carlton immediately confirmed his twin was in prison. There was no way around it. His DNA in that car belonged to him and him alone, and still he would not move. He had been sitting in jail for over a month by this point. He had been given time to think, time to consider his options, time to come up with something better than what he walked into that interrogation room with. And what he walked in with was, I don't know how my DNA got in that car.
And like I told you last time, I'm not saying Tyrone wasn't pushy.
Yes, sir.
I think he wanted to break it off with him.
But that night, I never met up with Tyrone, though. I promise, I never met up with Tyrone. I never did.
Carlton, you did.
I promise I did. I never met up with him. I promise, I did not.
There's a lot of people that's smarter than me that says your DNA is in multiple spots in that car.
I have no idea.
I can't take your DNA and go put it all those. I can't do that. Then how do you think that you're going to stick with this story?
I don't know how my DNA was in that car.
Well, it is. So let's get past that.
Carlton Champion's behavior throughout the interrogation is worth examining carefully. Not because it was dramatic, it was the opposite of dramatic. It was flat, consistent, almost mechanical. He denied, he deflected, he repeated himself. He showed no distress and no remorse. Investigators described his demeanor as sociopathic. One detective noted that his indifference to the gravity of the situation was something rare and something frightening. A person who can sit across from evidence of a murder they committed and feel nothing visible is a person who was capable of pulling the trigger in the first place. Carlton had deleted the Kik app the morning after Ty's murder. He had told investigators he barely knew her. He had denied the relationship, denied the messages, denied the car, denied the campus footage. And when the detective offered him a way out, suggesting that maybe something had happened, maybe Ty had said something that set things off, maybe there was a reason, Carlton did not take it. He just kept denying. Until the detective got closer to the truth than Carlton seemed comfortable with.
I think what was going to happen, you were trying to break it off with Tyrone. Because he's pushy. If you don't text him within 15 minutes, he's blowing your phone up. Why in the hell you ain't texting me? Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Well, then Tyrone says, I'm coming up there. Did Tyrone say that he was going to tell people about you?
No, I wouldn't care about that.
You don't care?
I had an incident like that one time. It wouldn't matter about it.
What?
Like somebody saying this and that, all type of stuff, some stuff along you. But I never met up with him that night.
He said he wouldn't care if Ty told people about them. But everything about this case, every text message, every deleted app, every lie told to investigators, every effort made to keep Ty away from his campus, pointed to a man who cared about that specific thing more than almost anything else. Carlton Champion had built something in Tyler. A reputation, an identity, a place on a team, in a community, on a pedestal that people had placed him on. He was the football player. He was the guy people respected. He had come from a difficult background and constructed something that looked, from the outside, like stability and success. Ty Underwood was a threat to that construction. Not because of anything she had done wrong, but because her very existence in his life, if it became known, would have forced Carlton to answer questions he did not want to answer. Questions about who he was, what he wanted, what he had been doing in private while projecting a completely different image in public. He had kept the relationship hidden deliberately. He controlled when and where they met. He did not want her near his campus. He did not want anyone connecting them. When Ty got angry, when she threatened to show up, when she sent that final message saying she was there, Carlton was not just annoyed. He was cornered. And a cornered person who has built their entire sense of self around an image they cannot afford to lose is capable of things that the version of themselves they show the world would never do. He deleted the Kik app the morning after she died. He walked back into his dorm room, went to sleep, had class in the morning, and when investigators came to talk to him, he asked for a hamburger.
What's going to happen is, Carlton, is you're going to go, and I'm going to arrest you for murder.
Sir, I'm hungry.
Okay? Be quiet, listen.
I'm hungry.
I'm going to arrest you for murder.
I know what I'm here for, sir.
Okay?
I'm hungry, though.
I don't care if you're hungry. Be quiet.
Carlton Champion was charged with first-degree murder. He took the case to trial, and the behavior that had defined every interaction with investigators followed him straight into the courtroom. He laughed during testimony. He chuckled at evidence being presented about a woman he had killed. His attorney sat beside him, tapping him on the arm, telling him to sit up, to straighten up, to stop. None of it worked for long. Carlton treated the trial the same way he had treated the interrogation. With indifference, with arrogance, as though the whole thing were an inconvenience he was waiting to get through. The jury took 2 hours. Guilty, first-degree murder. Under Texas law, Carlton could have received as little as 5 years. But Carlton Champion could not stop being who he was, even in the moments that mattered most. There was another outburst in court, another display of the same arrogance that had run through this entire case from the very beginning. The judge had seen enough. Life in prison, without the possibility of parole. As officers escorted Carlton Champion out of the courtroom, he turned toward the section where Ty's family was sitting. He taunted them. He said he would be back on the streets. It took 4 officers to bring him under control. Even after that, even sitting in a prison cell with a life sentence, Carlton was not finished. He wrote a letter to a crime news program. In it, he said the police had done dirty work. He said he was looking good and feeling good. He said he was waiting to get free so he could see what the world had to offer him. The world Ty Underwood never got to see. Ty was 24 years old. She had left Lufkin, a town too small for who she was, and built something real in Tyler. A home, a friendship, a life that was entirely her own. Her best friend Kenya carried her everywhere, long after she was gone. She said Ty was still her friend, that they were still rocking the world together. Ty had been fearless in a city that gave her every reason not to be. She had walked openly through a community that was not built for her, lived loudly in a place that preferred she stay quiet, and refused to let any of that diminish who she was or how she showed up. She was shot 4 times in her own car on a quiet street in Tyler, Texas, left to bleed out alone in the early morning dark, by a man who had pursued her in private and destroyed her in private because he could not face what it would mean for the world to know. Carlton Champion will spend the rest of his life in a Texas state prison. The football career is gone. The reputation is gone. The community that once admired him moved on. What remains is a conviction, a life sentence, and a letter from a prison cell. Ty Underwood's family and friends carry something different. They carry her. Ty Underwood's story deserves to be heard by as many people as possible. If this video moved you, subscribe to Unheard Crimes, leave a like, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. These are the stories that get buried. It is on all of us to make sure they don't stay that way. Thank you for watching, thank you for being here, and thank you for giving Ty Underwood your time today. Rest in peace, Ty. You are not forgotten.